Hi everybody, my name's Jack Berkley and I'm the president of the UVA Filmmaker Society, and today I'm going to be doing a little demo on iMovie, and this version of iMovie is iMovie 09, so obviously there's discrepancies among all the editions and the forthcoming variants, but for the most part I'm assuming you can do more or less the same things in terms of editing. Basically, I'll just go ahead and start out by describing the interface. With iMovie, you have three screens pretty much that are, or three windows that are the core of the interface. This one up on the top left is your project window, or I like to call it the canvas, because it's what your product is eventually going to be displayed on, your final product. Right below it is this just general event bin, which is all of your footage that you upload for a specific project. And the way iMovie kind of handles the distinction between the two is that you have an event and then you have multiple projects. And when you open up each one, it should have different clips that you upload specifically to each project, and those are indicated by this purple box with a white star in it. In this case, I just got a couple of clips of my roommates having a conversation about making dinner, and for the most part, you can have more or less footage however you want it, but that's beside the point. Anyways, when you want to get started with iMovie, you start by importing your footage, and you can do that in a few ways. If you have like a wireless device or something connected to your laptop or your computer, you can just say import from that, and in my case I use a flip camera, so I can literally just import it directly from the camera. Or you can move the files onto your computer and then import movies, and that'll just open up your it'll open up your Finder, and it'll show you movies that you could potentially import into your bin. And once you do that, they'll show up down here in this window. And obviously up here you can see whatever's going on. In this case I'm just dragging the cursor back and forth on these clips. But once you have your footage in here, you can sort of cut it up and play with it in a variety of ways. And the most basic of that is really just trimming down the footage to how long you want it to be. So let's say that hypothetically I knew exactly where I wanted my roommate Jacob in the plaid to start talking. I can just move this yellow bracket and shorten up the clip like that. A lot of times that is too rough, and you'll end up not having as exact of a clip as you want. But then again, you can always click on this little cog wheel in the bottom left corner of your raw clip, and it gives you the options for clip adjustments, video adjustments, audio adjustments, and cropping and rotation. And video and audio are just more specific subgenres within clip adjustments. So you click on that, and all this really comes up with is how long your clip is and whether you want it stabilized. But when you move into the video aspect, you can adjust the exposure, the brightness, the contrast, just basically what the image looks like. And the same thing goes for audio. You can adjust the volume, or ducking is something that you can do if you want to have music and have that be quieter than the dialogue. You could duck the audio of the music, and then it'll automatically make it like 15%, as opposed, or at least that's the standard. And this is also where you can adjust your fade-ins and fade-outs. So that's just a really quick run through of that. I'm going to go up to my canvas. I already made a little timeline here of the conversation. And if you double click on this, you go with the inspector, which is like clip adjustments but more in depth, and you can put video effects on it, like It'll have like it'll make it really overexposed, dream, just stuff like that. That's kind of, cheesy and tacky, but if you want that in there, then you can totally do it. And it's very easy, because it's iMovie and it's a consumer-based product. Editing your video, you can use the precision editor or the clip trimmer. Basically, what the precision editor does is it shows you the two clips that are adjacent to each other in the timeline, and you can easily show where you want one clip to segue into the other. Because what it's doing is cutting into the first clip and moving the second clip backwards in response. So now it cuts to this steaming pot of pasta. And that's a pretty easy tool. It's nothing that you really can't do with just the just plain old cutting, but it makes it a lot easier, so it's something to be mindful of. The other one is the clip trimmer, which is basically like it's just a little bit more specific version of yellow bracketing your footage. It just zooms in on the clip and gives you a little bit more space, if it's a particularly long clip, to kind of look at everything as a whole, and it's easier to tell what action is going on at certain points within just like this little still, or this little cell right here. So those are two things that are just nice to have kind of for editing's sake. So mostly I've been talking about kind of adjusting the length of your video, but I think a much trickier aspect of editing is audio editing, and iMovie has a lot of limitations when it comes to audio editing, but it does let you do some things in a somewhat primitive way, but that are equally useful. What you can do in iMovie 09 is control click on the thing, or on the clip, and then do detach audio. And that's a pretty useful tool, because what this allows you to do is see the audio as a separate entity, and if you choose to, move it up and down within the timeline at your leisure. And while a lot of times you may not want to actually do this because it'll leave your video and your audio out of sync, there may be certain instances where maybe you have like room noise or something that you want to have under a conversation so that it makes a nice segue between the two clips, and in that case detaching the audio is great. And then once again, this little cogwheel shows up every time you have like a new thing in your timeline, pretty much. And that applies for detached audio as well as just for clips that have their audio intact. So now we've kind of touched on how to go about messing around with video and audio within your playhead. And another thing that iMovie allows you to do very easily is ancillary concerns like text and music is very, very, very simple. I went ahead and threw a title at the beginning of this just as iMovie demo, and I can go ahead and show you how you do that. On the right hand, or on this middle bar on the right hand side, you have these icons. The musical note indicates music, and this is if you have photos from your iPhoto that you want to just slap right into the timeline. And then you get to text, and you'll probably use text a lot if you're ever making a video. And it gives you a bunch of options for where you want it to be oriented on the screen. You can do like a Star Wars kind of thing, or just plain and simple. I usually just do centered text, just because you don't really need to be too flashy when it comes to titles.